All right, welcome. This should be the August 26th percussion video, okay? August 26th percussion video. I'm going to try my best to make this into one video, but percussion is just a little bit harder to do what you're doing right now in one video, and hopefully y'all would understand it, okay? So, but I'm going to try. I'm going to really try, okay? All right, first thing I need you to get out is your homework from last night, okay? All right, I'm giving you the answers, okay? So even if you're not doing it on your own, you could get the answers right now, okay? But I would like you to always try this on your own because when you have a test this Friday over this kind of stuff, and you need to know it yourself, okay? All right, so you should have note naming worksheet number 9 out, okay? This was from last night's homework. Sorry, my nose is itching, okay? And I'm just going to real quick go through the answers, okay? And see if what you got. If you got what I got, then good. If you didn't, change your answers and be better next time, okay? All right, so line number 1. You should have had B, D, C, A, C, E, okay? Line number 1, I'm going to say it again. You should have B, D, C, A, C, E. All right, line number 2. You should have had A, F, A, C, G, F. Okay? That very top, that very up the top note in that second one is F, okay? Line number 3, you should have G, A, F, G, B, and B. Okay? So I'm going to say that again. G, A, F, G, B, B. All right. Line number 4, you should have had B, G, C, F, D, C. All right. Line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Line number 5, you should have C, G, 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 F, E. All right, and the last line, you should have had B, G, F, G, E, B, okay? Remember, if you missed any of those, fix them, okay? And if you did miss them, get them learned, okay? All right. So like I said, most of this time we're just gonna since I'm not able to make you play. Obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and do stuff that I can't make you do right now playing wise because the only playing you could do with notes is on mallets and you don't have mallets home. So we will be really hitting rhythmic stuff, but I need you to learn that, okay? Also, make sure you're learning your scales, okay? Remember, if when and if we can do playing tests, I'm probably having a playing test next where you have to do scales, at least all those scales on that page. C, F, B flat, E flat, and maybe maybe the last one was A flat. I'm not really for sure. Okay, but eventually, what I'm going to make you do is come in and play those scales. Okay, so learn those scales, know how many flats or sharps are in your key signature, know what those flats or sharps are, and then just be able to play it. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at lesson 8. Okay, I just want to go back over lesson 8 again. Okay, this is about ties. Okay, and really, truly, I don't want to look at the top portion. Okay, the top portion is more towards mallet and rolls. Okay, what I really want to look at is the bottom portion. Okay, now yesterday we did number 6 and we did number 6 and number 8. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start off with doing number 9. Okay, if you already done number 9, great. But I'm fixing to write it down, and we're just going to make sure we have the same counting, okay? So if you haven't done number 9, do number 9 now. If you have, great. I'm fixing to pause my video so I can write it, okay? All right, so this should be number 9, okay? My marker is starting to run out of ink, okay? I'm sorry. But if you can't read it, I'm sorry, okay? Number 9, okay? Do notice that it's all in 4/4 time, so easy peasy, right? I shouldn't have to go over time signatures anymore, okay? But I'll write it up here just for you to have it, okay? But I shouldn't have to go over time signatures anymore, okay? So let's look at it. So we got a quarter note on 1, easy peasy, all right? Now remember the tied note, every time you see a tie, when a note is tied, you do not say the number it's tied to. So that means 2 would be small. and then you give it a big and. See, look, 1, 2 small and. All right, and then we go to the next beat, big 3. All right, again, it's tied to the eighth note right there, so it's going to be a little 4, and then an and count, big and. Okay, so if I was to count this one, it'd be 1, 2, and 3, 4. Oh, sorry, yeah. So look, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. All right. So watch. I only hit on the and counts. Listen, or the not the and counts, but the big numbers and the big ands. So look, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay. And if you look at the next measure is the same. So we got big 1, little 2, big and, big 3, little 4, big and. Okay. So if we were to do those first two measures, it would sound like this. Okay. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. All right, easy peasy, right? All right, let's look at the last two measures. So, last two, beat 1 gets that quarter note. Okay, quarter note's all by itself. Okay, beat 2, big 2. All right, see how the quarter note ties the eighth note, so that means that's going to be a little 3. A big and then 4. All right. And then this last measure, we got a big 2, big 1, little 2 because the quarter note's tied to the next quarter note, and then big 3 and big 4. All right. So if we were to click and count this whole entire measure, this is what it would sound like. Okay. And remember, over here, I'm going to click the rhythm out here, but I'm going to count every rhythm. Okay. So look, 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Notice that I never clicked on any of the small numbers. Okay? Notice that. Okay? All right. With that being said, I want you to try line number 10. Okay? Try line number 10 real quick and see what you get. All right, number 10. Should have this done by now. Hopefully. Okay, don't mind that. I accidentally wrote it a little wrong. Okay, so this time the lines are actually this line actually introduces doing ties over the staff. Okay, we haven't really had one that goes over. I mean, not over staff, but over bar line. See how they got one right here over the bar line. Okay, this one is a little bit talking about over the bar line counting. Okay, the counting's not going to change. Okay, so look, we're going to start that first measure. We got an eighth note on 1, so we got 1 and 2, 3, 4. But this time on the second measure, we're going to have a little 1, a big and, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So if I were to click and count these two measures, it'd be like this. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. Do you notice how I didn't click on the beat 1 of this measure? I didn't click that 1 right there. Okay, so listen again. 1, 2, ready, and 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. Okay, easy peasy, right? All right, so let's look at this next measure. All right, so we got a half note tied to an eighth note. Okay, the half note's still going to get a big 1, little 2. Okay, you're still going to give a big 1, a big 2, little 2, but we're also going to have a little 3 right here because the half note is tied to the eighth note. So big 1, little 2, little 3, big and count, and then big 4. All right, and the last measure we got 1 and 2. What do you think? What do you think those last two beats should be? You should be saying little 3, little 4. This is the only time, okay? The only time a half note gets 2 little numbers is when it's tied, when the note it is tied to the note before it, okay? Because we won't re-articulate beat 3, okay? Look, so this measure would be 1. It would be 1 and 2, 3, 4. Okay, notice that I didn't hit on 3 or 4. I only hit it on 1 and 2. Okay, 1 and 2, 3, 4. What they're saying right here, this is pretty much what they're putting right here, is you want to think of it like a dotted half note. Dotted half note gets 3 counts. Okay, so 1 and 2, 3, 4. Easy peasy, right? Yeah. All right. So continue working on that. Let's go over to lesson 9. Okay, lesson 9. All right. So we talked about this before. This little rhythm right here. Okay, when they do eighth, so they do quarter, eighth. Okay, like this. And remember in the last lesson, they did this a lot where they did a tie from a quarter note to an eighth note. All right, what this is, okay, so scratch that eighth note. Okay, we don't even really need that eighth note. Okay, but if we just do a quarter note tied to an eighth note, this is the same thing as writing a dotted quarter note. Okay, dotted quarter notes are going to get 1.5 beats. Okay, 1.5 beat. So that means it gets this 1 is usually a quarter note, and this half note or this half beat is usually an eighth note. And that's where we get this to go into that. Okay? Oops, sorry. I don't have that written overlap. Okay? So, dotted quarter notes are 1.5 beat, and they're usually, and this is why we worked on this tie first. It's usually a quarter note tied to an eighth note. So 1, and. Okay, the reason we usually, not always, okay, usually when you see a dotted quarter note like this, when you see a dotted quarter note, it is usually followed, not always, but usually followed by an eighth note. So when we count this, okay, 1 and, okay, 1 and, because beat 2, or the downbeat of 1, or sorry, the upbeat of 1 is in here, okay? And then this is actually a little 2 right there. That dot would be a little 2. 1 and. 1 and. Okay? So big 1 on the quarter note, a little 2 on the dot. All right? Big 1, so the quarter note would get a big number, the dot would get a small number. 1 and then this would get the big and. So like we would do up here, if we were to count that, that would be 1, little 2, big and. 1 and. Okay? That is what they're trying to do, and I hope you're understanding these you're understanding this a little bit, because dotted quarter notes are really hard to understand not face to face. So what I want you to do is, real quick, I want you to try line number 2, okay? Try line number 2, and when you see a dot, make sure it gets a little number. Make sure it gets a little number. I know it's not how they have it written, but that's how I want you to do it, okay? Make sure each time you see a dot, it gets a little number, okay? Ready, set, go. All right, so hopefully if you're unpausing, this means you have it done, okay? So real quick, first measure, easy peasy, right? Big 1, big 2, big 3, big 4, big and. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. All right. Second measure, okay? You should have had a big 1, a big 2, a big 3, little 4, okay? Little 4 because the eighth note is tied to a quarter note before in a big and. So look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. All right? You understand? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and. Now if you look at the third measure, the third measure is exactly the same thing as this, okay? We got a big 1, a big 2, a big 3, all right, and a big and. 4 is this dot, so I want you to put a little 4 underneath that dot, okay? Now, in this sense, when we count this, we actually won't say 4, all right? We'd say 3 and. So look, I'm counting this measure. 1, 2, 3, and. 1, 2, 3, and. We won't say beat 4 like we would over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. 1, 2, 3, and. Okay? You have to make sure that you can say 4 if you want to, okay? But you don't have to. All right? Go find part 2 because this is too long. Okay? Go find part 2.